The Tartan Army are digging out their passports, believing the World Cup is a certainty. Rangers supporters are preparing the red carpet for another new manager, and Celtic fans have hunted out the bed sheets as the rumpus with the board refuses to go away. Who says international breaks are boring? Welcome to Game On, Record Sports Rapid Fire Hot Take Podcast, where we'll be going two-footed on all the big issues. I'm Fraser Wilson. This is Andy Newport, who you might recognise from Hotline Live, but I believe this is your debut in the big seat, Andy.
Yep, called off late call-up for myself, so...
You nervous?
I'll just come sit next to you, but...
That's the effect to having people. Pleased to hear it. We'll put you at ease by kicking off with a subject you're all over, mate. Rangers hunt for a new manager. A sixth in the last 4 years. It could take us right back to where we started. Or where they started, Steven Gerrard. Looks like it could be coming. Is this the right decision for the Rangers board?
I think for the board, it's certainly the easy decision. Go back to the summer, they appointed a man that none of the fans really wanted in Russell Martin, and you saw how that sort of blew up in their faces. Now, this is the easiest decision they've got, and the fans are pretty much universally behind the reappointment of Steven Gerrard. So for me, it's a no-brainer. It takes all the pressure off the board. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, we can turn around to the supporters and go, this is the man you wanted. But for me, I think he is the best of the candidates that's been quoted. I think he knows the club. I think he knows the demands. I think that's something that you can see the board and Russell Martin especially fail to grasp. They fail to grasp that the be-all and end-all here is winning. Mm-hmm. Style, fancy football, philosophy, all that comes later. First and foremost, you have to win. So for me, I think he is the right man for it.
I agree with that, right? Mm-hmm. I agree with that. And he's definitely a standard setter. He's a figurehead, all the rest of it. And that's crucial in a dressing room environment, especially at a club the size of Rangers. But you use the word win there. Can he deliver trophies?
You're about to hit me with the 1 trophy in 9 start, aren't you?
You said it. I might have been.
Listen, I think undoubtedly he should have won more. But I think you also have to take into account the absolute shambles that he inherited. I mean, the season before he came in, this was a Rangers team that lost the last 2 Old Firm games of that season 9-1, I think. 9 or 9-0, maybe 9-0.
Right.
So, I mean, this is the scale of the challenge he had. It was always going to be a gradual process where they had to build step by step. And yeah, he should have won certainly a couple more cups, especially that COVID season. Probably should have had a treble that year. You know, they came very very close at Hampden. The 2019 League Cup final, I think it was as well.
1-0 game,
they outplayed Celtic, had a penalty, and got a sucker punch with that Christopher Julian goal. So yeah, I think they'll look back and go, they probably should have had 2 or 3 more trophies in the bag. But Rangers fans will argue that he won the one that mattered, and that was the 2020 title, stopping Celtic doing the 10. So for me, I think he is the right man.
He left for Villa. That didn't go down too well. Certainly didn't do well in the Premier League. Mm-hmm. Been up and down over in Saudi. Don't think anyone really cares what happens over there. But still, he doesn't have a lot of victories as a manager, a lot of silverware to back him up. He will definitely sort that club out, I think. Yeah. Right? He will get them back up. There'll be no more ridicule. There'll not be a laughing stock anymore. But will he take that extra step to get them back winning trophies?
I think this season you'll get them back winning and make them more competitive. Whether that's enough to overhaul a 9-point deficit at Celtic, 11 in Hearts, I think that's a bit much. I think the damage has been done for this season, frankly. But I think this year's all about building standards again back at the club. I said that Russell Martin would get a year's grace back in the summer if there was signs of progress. There was absolutely no sign of progress, and that's why he's out after 122 days. I think, again, if Gerrard comes in and shows that he's, again, heading in the right direction, as he did his first couple of years at the club, I think he gets that, the time and the patience that he'll need. But,
all right. I do agree with that. Maybe Russell Martin could have done with Jim Ratcliffe in charge. But we'll come on to him later because right now, sticking with Rangers, how much pressure are the new American owners under already to make sure this appointment works?
I think you've got to say they're under huge pressure. On the basis that, they came in with so much excitement and enthusiasm for their takeover, they vowed to plough in money, and at that point, it looked like they could do no wrong. The previous board had been under so much pressure and so much scrutiny, but they've managed to blow all of that inside 4 months, which just seems remarkable. So, listen, the best thing they can do is give the fans what they want, and that's why I say that I think Steven Gerrard's an easy appointment for them, because it is exactly what the punters are asking for. But if you've appointed somebody that the fans were entirely against, as they were with Russell Martin, and then you see it implode inside 122 days, when really the signs were there that you should have binned them a month ago.
Yeah.
They stopped buying for another month, and that is pretty much why they're out of a title race already, because they allowed the early damage to set in. I think that the fans are now already going, well, are you guys really the clever clogs that we thought you were? So
I think this smacks of these guys. They say they will, but I don't think they understood the magnitude of the club they were taking over, or what's Scottish football.
I agree with you on that, but they should have, because
they should have. But they didn't.
I remember sitting there with Scott McDermott a press conference in the press room at Ibrox only, maybe 8 weeks ago, with Andrew Cava and Parag Marathi, and I said to him, "You were here last year when there was protests. You were here when you saw Ibrox at its worst. Are you prepared for when the fingers started pointing at you?" And yeah, of course, yeah. I was a goalkeeper. I remember being. I gave this anecdote about. I remember being a goalkeeper, and a coach saying to me, like, "You're the buck stops with you, basically. So I'm prepared to be the guy that has, the ultimate responsibility." But I'm not sure that they fully grasped because they didn't grasp what the club was all about. And the club, as I said earlier, is about winning, full stop. And if you come in and you try and treat it like a project, the fans will quickly give you short shrift as they have done.
Well, look, my big, I'm going to play devil's advocate a bit here, because I think Rangers as a club, besides a club, demand full attention from the guys in charge. And Parag Marat has a lot on his plate.
Yep,
right?
3 jobs.
Leeds United chairman. Yep. I mean, that's a far more expensive job that he's got in his hands down south, keeping them in the Premier League. He's with the 49ers Enterprises, which I don't imagine for a second is a part-time job. Vice chairman at Ibrox. I mean, how hands-on is he? Andrew Cavanagh's not in the country for the vast majority of the time. I mean, the last board were criticised for being maybe too close to the club and too emotional. But
I think this is why Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell are going to come under more scrutiny, because they've been left in charge of the day-to-day running. Yeah, and the fact that they've made a mess of their first big appointment. So the fact that the owners have had to fly back in and head down to London to conduct these interviews and lead the process, as they said in their statement, I think that's why they'll now feel a wee bit of heat on them, and they're already getting it from the supporters. So I can imagine that some of that scrutiny is now also coming from the boardroom as well.
Aye, absolutely.
Right, this is how it works. My turn now. I've got to ask you a question.
Fire
away.
Hopefully this is a bit easier.
Fraser, big performance for Scotland last night. Big result, sorry. Not so much of the great performance for 65 minutes, was it? But getting in 3-1 win, huge result. For you, is the American dream on?
Well, old saying is you're better lucky than good, right? And that has never been more appropriate for a Scotland side ever, I don't think. Maybe in Paris with James McFadden in 2007, but last night, unbelievable. Maybe the other saying about finding a way to win when you're ranked rotten, or one about fate, it all came into play last night. I don't think anyone in that home crowd could quite believe what was happening. So for that reason, I'm going to say this dream is on, honestly. When did we ever get luck like that? Yeah. Speaking to some of the Greek boys, well, one of the Greek boys, sorry, at the end of the game last night, and he just shook his head through the whole press conference. He couldn't quite believe robbery,
wasn't it? I mean, apparently they were showing the highlights in Crime Watch last night.
I don't blame them. I wondered what happened in sports scenes. Is that what it was? Look, it'd be catastrophic not to follow that up with taking 3 points against Belarus on Sunday. So that'd
be a real crime, wouldn't it?
That'd be an even bigger crime against football, totally. So listen, that would then tee Scotland up for a monumental double-header next month, which would all lead to kind of Hampden against Denmark, I think, in the final day. I do not want Scotland to end up in a playoff again, so I think we have to win the group. Yeah. And given what I saw last night, something as I keep saying I've never seen for a Scotland team, fate appears to be on our side. So I'm going to say this American dream's on. So go on, Andy, knock us down.
But you're not concerned just about how big a game that was last night and just how lacklustre and tepid it was.
We cannot be that bad again. Yeah. And see, one thing we can rely on, or we appear to be able to rely on, is this defence right now. Grant Hanley gets knocked left, right, and centre by punters, but I tell you what, just as it was in Denmark, cool, massive last night. He's made for these occasions. Angus Gunn hasn't played a minute at club football and has been immense.
Does he have to get a move in January? Does he have to be playing regular football?
He deserves one. That's as bad a move as Rangers appointing Russell Martin. Him choosing on the Forest, even if he has to play in the Championship, it's regular football. He showed again last night.
come up here and play somewhere. You know what I mean? Just he has to be playing week in, week out, doesn't
I
he?
think it's going to say in the first half was good. The the Felix held it. That saving injury time that could qualify Scotland for World Cup.
Yeah.
Game on.
Here we
As
go.
the title of this show says, we're going to America. Sticking with that, we did say it's a massive game on Sunday. What changes does Steve Clarke have to make sure we're on the front foot and take advantage? Because look, Belarus have conceded 6 goals to Greece and 6 goals to Denmark. Now we took 2 off them over in Hungary. Let's hope we can rack up a few on Sunday. So what changes would you make to that team?
I think Billy Gilmore has to come into the team. I thought that last night. I thought that was a performance. I actually tweeted that midway through the first half. This was a performance crying out for his composure on the ball, not just his ability to retain the ball and pass calmly under pressure, to pass forward with purpose, through the line, splitting defences. I thought that was, we were far too safe last night. We were sideways and backwards a lot of the time in midfield, and I think that was why it allowed Greece to sort of build ahead of steam, because anytime we had that possession, we didn't really go anywhere with it. We ended up going backwards, and it just allowed Greece to step on and put their press on us. So for me, I think Gilmore essential.
Good to see Steve. I wonder what Steve Clarke was reading at one point. It must have been your Twitter. I was pleased to see him come on as well. That did change.
I mean, for me, the Gannon Doak thing was a strange one, because it probably wasn't his greatest game, but for me, any typical winger, he's not going to be. They're not going to get the beating of their full-back every single time. But that one occasion they do get past, they will then create something. So for me, I know he came off, and I think he has to start.
Did he look happy?
No, but I think he has to start, because for me, he is the X factor. He's the only real, bit of difference that we've got in that. I think we've got a lot of players that are, they're obviously top level. Your McTominays, your McGinns, your Christies, but they all kind of do a lot of the same stuff.
He's a maverick.
Yeah, he's the X factor. So for me, he has to be in the starting lineup. And you know what? I'd like to see Dykes come back in, because
really?
I thought he was terrific the last 20 minutes where he come on. His ability to hold the ball. Listen, we know that Lyndon Dykes gives you, there's a few rough edges. There's not many thrills to him, but I thought he was terrific. And I think at a game like that, where Belarus are going to be stubborn, they're going to sit in. I think his physicality up front might be crucial, and just allow the rest of the midfield to go up and get involved.
Well, I definitely go with you. I think, first of all, Matt Johnson will come in at right back, because Hickey looks, unfortunately, fingers crossed for the boy. He's out Sunday. Let's hope it's no serious again. If
you also get Lewis Ferguson and Christie out as well, so
exactly. So that makes it easier for Ben Gannon Doak to stay in, and I would keep him in for the same reason as yourself. John McGinn, I would have been tempted to take him out if Christie had been available. I would have been tempted to take him out, because I thought didn't offer a lot again last night. I thought we're better when Christie moved into a more advanced position. But anyway, that
does it maybe become a Gilmore and maybe a Kenny McLean sort of at the base of the midfield, and that allows you to put McTominay a wee bit further forward?
A bit, because he would still need height in there, and I sometimes wonder if you've got Gannon Doak and Billy Gilmore in the same midfield, if you're defending your own box, you're giving up a lot of height in there. Hopefully we don't have to do too much defending. I'd stick with Shea Adams up top, though. I think he absolutely worked his backside off again last night, and deserves to actually get a chance to put the ball in the net on Sunday, and hopefully he'll get a few chances. Other than that, it's pretty much similar to the other night. I think the whistle went about 2 hours ago, didn't it?
Right, Celtic fans have hardly been convinced by their meeting with the board this week. What needs to happen to ease some tensions?
That's putting it lightly. Look, let's be honest here. I don't think there's any chance they're going to get their wish that there's going to be boardroom change. Heads aren't going to roll, right? It's not the way Celtic are set up. They've had a stinker, a transfer window. They've sort of put their hands up halfway. They've stuck a couple of fingers up at least. Not that way, but you know what I mean. They've admitted they didn't get it all right. The statement, as Mick Gannon brilliantly puts it, the wine o'clock statement for last month's been overtaken by a bit more of an acceptable statement this time round, but still not appeased the fans, you're right. So, first things first, when it comes to the next transfer window, they need to go out with a statement of intent and spend and sign good. So the
sign early as well.
Sign
they
early,
can't be doing this.
Funnily enough, they have signed quite early in previous Januaries, haven't they? So I'm pretty sure they'll have targets in mind already. Go and get them in the first week of the window. Before then, no, I think it falls on Brendan Rodgers and the players. I can't get away from the fact that Celtic still have a squad that should blow away the rest of Scottish football. The best defence, they've got a midfield that's packed. Andy Engels, get him firing again. Callum McGregor's Mr. Dependable. Nygren looks like he's got something. Hatate, get him Mr. Consistent again. Who else? I'm missing somebody. Luke McCowan's looked great, I think, when he looked great against Hibs the other week. They've got midfield most Scottish teams would die for, if not all Scottish teams would die for.
For me, the bigger thing is, and I read the minutes of the meeting last night, and they obviously talk about
clear you weren't that. Look at you.
Day off. They're clearly talking about they can't reveal too much, business confidentiality reasons.
Yeah.
But I think they have to stop gaslighting the supporters. When this stuff about, there's financial fair play rules, there's, we can't go out and splurge all this money.
Yeah.
That's not washing with anyone. I mean, Celtic have made profit year after year. They've got plenty of scope, plenty of wiggle room to be, reinvesting. I get, listen, if you go and sign a 10, 15 million pound player, you have to give them 10, 15 million pound wages, and that then blows your salary cap. But for me, I don't think the explanations they've given the punters they're just not cutting through. You can't have 60, 70 million pounds in the bank and not spend it.
Yeah. And you can't
especially when you're failing consistently. Okay, they've qualified for the Champions League in recent years, but basically, I think as a statement, as the minutes included, they've done it in the back of other teams' performance in Europe. In terms of any time they go through the qualifiers, they failed in the last 5 occasions. That's not washing the supporters. Especially when you've got that money in the bank, they have to start spending it, and spending it, as Brendan Rodgers has said, timely. Get it done early, get the players in, get them settled, and then give themselves the best chance of getting through these big, huge, multi-million pound playoffs.
Absolutely, and you're right about that, the gaslighting the fans, because that just doesn't stick. The financial fair play excuse, because they've got a recruitment team that they should know and know early exactly what players fall into their bracket and ignore the rest. You've got a bracket of players you can afford, who you can go and sign without breaching those rules, go and get them. Look, on the park though, it's not been great on the park either. There's excuses, what's happening off the park in the stands in the boardroom, but what's Brendan Rodgers need to do to get Celtic firing on the park again? Because I do believe they've got a squad that should be doing far better.
I think maybe some unpopular decisions are maybe made. Obviously Kieran Tierney came back in the summer, fans' favourite, prodigal son, sort of returning to the club. I don't think he's come anywhere close to hitting the heights he did first time round. Obviously, reasons for that, injuries, have really curtailed him. For me, it looks a player who is anxious about getting injured again. I think it looks to me like he's playing with that kind of thought in his mind. And I just think right now, until he can get over that psychological hump, then I don't think he's the strongest option. I think Sarachi's come in and looked a better option.
Looks like Greg Taylor to me.
Yeah.
Not just physically, the way he plays the game as well.
He's got more energy, he's got more legs about him. I think that was so much what Kieran Tierney was about first time. That ability to get up the pitch, and his quality at the top end of the pitch. But the few times I watched Celtic this season, he's not getting up there. I watched him at Ibrox in the Old Firm game, and he barely crossed the halfway line. And obviously that was a lot to do with, I think he was up against Gassama that afternoon. But it just looks like such a shadow of the player he once was. And
a wee bit in his defence, I thought he was really good when he came on last night for Scotland.
Yeah.
There was
kept the ball.
He kept the ball for about a minute in his own, because he had no options.
But it's not the Kieran Tierney we remember rampaging up and down that left-hand side. So for me right now, until he can get himself into a physical space, I think he maybe needs to come out of the team. I know they've tinkered recently, maybe even moving him into left centre-back, which, listen, given these injury issues, might be more an option, but it's still not the Kieran Tierney we all know and remember. Celtic fans loved. So
28, you'd be hoping he'd be in his peak. It's a bit of a shame, to be fair. It's not his fault.
And going forward, I think the big issue is obviously the right wing. That's something they need to solve. Obviously, they're not going to be able to really address that until January, but I think that is a huge gap in that side. Obviously, tinkered around there, tried a few different players, even put Niger in it there when he's really more of a central player. So I think that's an area they definitely need to address come January.
Yes, right, okay. Moving on. Derek McInnes says we're still to see the best of Hearts. That's certainly throwing down the gauntlet. Jambo's strong enough already to maintain this challenge at the top of the table.
I think they've got a strong enough starting 11.
Mm-hmm.
I think the big question is whether they've got the depth for it. I think the thing that goes in their favour though is that they are, they don't have European football. They've got time to rest, recover, prepare every week. I think that is a huge really thing from. I think we've seen in the last few years Scottish teams out with Old Firm really struggling with that sort of midweek, weekend week in, week out schedule.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that they don't have that will help.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's just about strength and depth for me. You know, I think Lawrence Shankland, having him back at his best, having a really good foil alongside him and Claudio Braga, having Harry Milne at left back, sort of plugging that gap, left by James Penrice, I think it's been huge.
He's been playing on the right, though,
Yeah,
Harry Milne, recently.
Yeah, he played there at Ibrox in sort of a double fullback sort of situation. They were trying to put the brakes on Rangers' left-hand side. So, listen, I think they're flying right now, aren't they? I mean, they've won an incredible start, and you know, just going back to the Gerrard thing, I think the Hearts fans, the Hearts board will be absolutely delighted that Rangers have turned their attention elsewhere, because I think that could have been what they would have hated, was this early flow that they've got themselves into, to have that disrupted. I mean, we all remember back in the day, what was it, 2005 under George Burley, they were flying 11 games into the season, and Mad Vlad got himself involved and just, you know, killed the momentum that they were having. So they won't want anything to interrupt that. But for me, if they can get themselves still there or thereabouts in the title race by January, and we'll just look to add that wee bit extra quality, and we know that Tony Bloom has got an eye for a player. The Jamestown Analytics, they've got the laptop that's going to unearth them. Looks like they've got the resources now to go and find these guys. So I think it's a great start, but they need to make it stick.
I don't think they're far off having this squad. I think they need to get rid of players. They've got such a big squad. As McInnes pointed out,
but
after
it's the quality, but
they've got Frankie Kent still to come back into that defence, who's the best defender out with Celtic in Scotland 2 seasons ago, got in that team of the year. He'll struggle to get in this Hearts back line right enough. Jamie McCart again, waiting to come back into the back line. They've got the record signing, Aziu, still to come into the midfield. Derek McInnes promises us he's what was the words he used? A player like he's never seen before. On top of that, they've already signed Chesnikov to come in on the wing. Got guys like Blair Spittle sitting on the bench that can affect things. Kabangu, Karjota.
A lot of these guys were there last season when they were struggling. They were the wrong end of the table. So.
Spittle definitely.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's about quality for me. It's with guys that are, you know, I don't think many of them right now, as you say, are strongly in the team now. I think they need guys that are champing at the door. And
Karjota came on at the weekend and threw that cross in that won them the derby. I think they've got pretty decent depth, so I don't think you need to do too much in January, but we'll see. Anyway, is that whistle going again?
Yep. I'll crack on. I'll take over this time. So, where are we? Question 8, is it? A battering of Aberdeen. A 4-0 battering of Dundee. Have Jimmy Tilleen's Dons finally turned the corner?
No, they can maybe see the corner coming. Tell you, they needed that badly. Yeah. I think it's really promising. They've followed up the kind of the promising performance against Shakhtar Donetsk, with obviously didn't get the result, but that was, I think fans accepted that was maybe a step too far to beat Donetsk, especially given the domestic form. So they put in a performance and then they backed up with an absolute demolition job at Dundee. You know, I've been very, very hard on Jimmy Tilleen recently, and I think, and I won't change my tune, that the record's been rotten. I didn't like the summer recruitment up until the last few days. I thought they were signing a League of Nations. I thought they were losing their kind of identity. But, and this was pointed out to me by my dad, so if he's watching, he'll give him credit for this. They had 5 Scots in the starting lineup, which is more than double what they've had at any other time this season at Saturday, and they battered Dundee.
But I tell you what, boy Carlson, I mean, how good does he look?
He looks.
I mean,
we all that about the Scottish boys.
But
he looks.
We thought it was a coup when they signed him, but I mean, utterly underlined why Tilleen was so excited, why the Pataudry support, the Red Army are so excited by him. He looks an absolute player.
Boots,
unbelievable.
Unreal. What's that, man? 3 goals now? 3 goals in the last 2 games. He looks but I went, look,
it's only on loan. I mean, that's,
I don't think they'll keep him beyond this season, but. If it works for him, works for Aberdeen, great deal. Like they come back with a trip to Paisley. They've no won there in the last 9 attempts. That is going to be a monumental.
You've done your research more than me.
For some reason, I seem to keep getting Aberdeen and Paisley to cover, and they never win. They've not won any in the last 9. So if they can come through that with a victory, then I'll start believing this corner's getting turned. Just a bit early to go yet, but look, belief for the Red Army. And do you know what? Fair play to them. They stuck by Tilleen. Obviously, the Scottish Cup win bottom a lot of time, but it'd be good to see them climbing that table.
I mean, for me, I agree with you. I think this is a slump that it's not just this season. It's going back. I mean, what was it? I think
November
before the
last
weekend, was
year.
it no 5 league ones?
32.
Yeah, I mean,
Aye.
you know, he needs one, as you say. This isn't them turn the corner yet. He needs to go on a run now. He needs to start climbing the table, and they need to start showing a bit more of that attacking intent, because you say getting to 6-7 games this season, you haven't got a league goal. I mean, that's just, you know, for any team that's not good enough, but certainly not for the Aberdeen side.
Absolutely. Right, Manchester United. Let's go down south for a wee dip in the pond down there. Jim Ratcliffe, couldn't believe this. See, no might be a hatchet man. Jim Ratcliffe wants to give Ruben Amorim 3 years to sort out the mess at Manchester United. He's already had his first year, isn't he? Is that brave? Is it foolhardy, or is it just plain daft?
Certainly something, isn't it? I mean, it's so unusual, isn't it, for any manager, especially one with a record as his, which is frankly awful, to get that kind of vote of confidence.
Did I read it's the worst win percentage since World War II?
It's something, yeah. I mean, it's dire. I mean,
Aye.
I saw a stat that across the last 2 seasons since he came in, over the 17 teams that have, or 15 or 16 teams, sorry, that have been in the league over that time, over the 2 seasons, I think they're second bottom. I mean, it's dreadful for a club that spent £1 billion over the last decade, 15 years, something like that. I mean, it's just how you can allow so much money to be wasted is astonishing. But they're a club that is, you know, they've been probably worse. The only club that's been worse run than Rangers over the last.
I know.
That's
very unfair in Rangers, isn't it?
Yeah. So for me, I think, I mean, it's great news for Ruben Amorim. And listen, you've got to applaud it in some sense that I think too many clubs are too quick to sack managers. So the fact that they believe in this guy, but again, I think it's that kind of Russell Martin thing of he's got a philosophy, so he's sticking to it. And it's like, well, that's not how football works. And Sir Alex Ferguson, you know, he wasn't a guy that's insisted upon, you know, sticking to one game plan or one set of tactics. He was pragmatic, and I do think that, again, we lose track of what football's about, especially at clubs like Man United. Football's for the winning. You do that, you get over the winning line any way you can, and then once you've got yourself a platform, a foundation, you then look to add all the wee nice touches, the wee nice frills, and all the other things that we like to see when football's fancy. But at the end of the day, what keeps you in a job is 3 points on a Saturday, and he's been miles off it. Absolutely miles off it. So he is a very lucky boy that he's got a chairman as understanding as that.
He's not going to get 3 years if this keeps up, no matter what Jim Ratcliffe says.
Listen, at one point last year, you were worried about them getting relegated.
And it's there again now.
And it doesn't look like things are much better. No. So, listen, what was it? What year was it? 72 or 3 or something like that? Man United get relegated. Dennis Law. He argued it wasn't him, or he did argue it wasn't him who relegated them. But listen, I think if he's still in a job come this time next year, it'll only be because Man United have shown a huge upturn. If things carry on as they are, he'll be lucky to see January.
Dennis Law got Man U relegated and got a statue outside Old Trafford. I don't think we'll be seeing one for Amorim.
Very true.
Very dear. True.
Right, last one. Bob MacIntyre completed a fabulous fortnight with a home win in Alfred Dunhill Links. Is your Bob destined for a major win?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Honestly.
You're just saying that because he's Scottish.
Yeah. I always supported Scott. I even supported Colin Montgomery back in the day and didn't particularly.
Came close a few times.
Yes. Look, Bob's got the game. Don't think there's any doubt about that. He's definitely got the personality.
Flies under the radar. I think that's the big thing. I don't think he attracts the pressure.
He doesn't attract the headlines, but I don't think he's flying under the radar anymore.
I just looked at him. I watched a lot of the Ryder Cup and I thought, obviously, he's not one of the bigger personalities. He's not a Rory. He's not even a John Ram or a Lowry. He just flew under it.
Yeah.
But he just quietly goes about his business.
But the competitors, he won't fly under the radar for them. They'll know exactly how dangerous it is. The beauty was he just didn't look out of place in that company in the Ryder Cup. Totally rose to the occasion, I would say.
Did you see the video that went about social media every time. Like, obviously, we all know about some of the stuff that was flying about, the comments, the abuse that was flying about Bethpage Black, but there was a
I did the montage before.
He'd snip back at some of the punters, which I quite liked. And I like a guy that's got a wee bit. If you're going to give me some, I'll give you some back. I like that.
He's got that Scottish dig, hasn't he? Good on him. Look, I said he's got personality, the character in the game, and most importantly, he's got time. I mean, he's just turned 29, so easily. I think he said himself he should have another 40 attempts to win the major before he's even turns 40. So he's got the time. I mean, that's a lot of majors, 40. You've got to think, you've got to hope that fitness, hopefully fitness keeps up and his game keeps up. I'm absolutely convinced there's a major or two down the road. He's getting closer, isn't he? Look at him in the US Open.
Was he ninth in the world rankings now? I mean, you don't get to that level in golf unless you're consistent.
Yeah.
You're consistent in the big events. And I think you've seen that, he's made cut after cut. Okay, he's maybe, he's topped a few top 10 finishes in there, maybe not quite got to, being in contention yet.
Aye.
But it's progression, isn't it? You look where he was a couple of years ago. It's year after year, he's getting better and better and better. And if he carries on that trajectory, then he's got to think he's going to be there or thereabouts over the next few years.
It's exciting stuff. It's definitely brought golf back onto the must-watch list for myself. So good luck to Bob. Look, that's been great. That's everything for us right now. Don't forget you can follow everything on dailyrecord.co.uk. But thank you very much for joining us.